Looking across our nation, President Donald Trump pushes forward with his plan to move federal forces into Chicago. That's despite criticism from local leaders and Democrats who called a, quote, fake show and manufactured crisis. John Lawrence reports.
It's official.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation.
After days of speculation, the Trump administration confirms its plan to send armed military personnel to the Windy City.
Chicago is a hellhole right now.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the land of Lincoln will go to court to fight against the deployment.
The President of the United States likes to go on television and beg me to call and ask him for troops. I find this extraordinarily strange, as Chicago does not want troops on our streets.
At least 58 people were shot in Chicago this Labor Day weekend, according to the city's police department.
Here's the truth. Donald Trump is the last person in America who cares about families on the south and west side of Chicago.
The Chicago Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction says shootings, including fatalities, are on a downward trend thus far this year.
They believe it's acceptable to go from an unacceptable level of crime to an unacceptable level of crime and call that a win.
As for Chicago residents,
sending a National Guard, I believe that it will put us in a situation where the whole city of Chicago will be right back where we started.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.